You're welcome back. This is Breakfast Daily. It's time now to look at some major issues making news in our country. Now, I have here with me Mensa Thompson, is Executive Director, Alliance for Social Equity and Public Accountability at CEPA. Hi, Mensa.
Hi, Frima.
You're welcome.
Thank you. How was your weekend?
Not bad at all. You know, we didn't start on a good note yesterday, Man City, but it's early days yet.
Man City.
Yeah.
Oh.
They were well up.
Anyway, now I also have here Jeffrey Kabuto-Kazi, is Executive Director, Revenue Mobilization Africa. Welcome, Jeff.
Thanks for having me.
Great, yeah. So earlier we're talking about Dynamic Friday stuff. Yeah, music and stuff.
Yes. The way you dazzle us through the waves, I mean, that's good.
There's pressure in the system. So on Fridays we need to, you know, release. We need to breathe, you know, and
so we can
prepare
relieve
ourselves
some tension.
the pressure on Monday as well.
You see, but it's a good one. It's a good one. It's a good one, especially when you're driving and, you know, most of the Fridays when you're in the traffic.
Keep you company,
and
right?
The
keep you
voice,
company.
yeah.
Anyway, Mensa, they say that bold men wear pink.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I love pink, not because I'm bold, but I just love it. Yes, but I love it with a good combination of either white or brown. Yeah.
So this
white,
morning you've
coffee,
summed it all
I
up.
have a bit and pieces of it.
Right.
Yeah.
You like it. Anyway, so gentlemen, let's look at the cylinder recirculation model. You know, the NPA is set to roll out this policy from September. This is to ensure safe distribution of LPG. Now, when there's a story on citinewsroom.com on this issue, and I'm going to take the story. It was the National Petroleum Authority, NPA, is set to roll out the cylinder recirculation model, that's the CRM program, in September this year. Pero Kujetu, Deputy Chief Executive Officer of the authority, has said. Now, he said under the CRM, residents of Accra and other selected parts of the country do not have to own a cylinder to use liquefied petroleum gas, that's LPG, for domestic and commercial activities. Quote, filled LPG cylinders will be kept at exchange points for customers to pay for the content and pick up the filled cylinders after registering with their national identity card, unquote. The implementation of the CRM, he said, would be spearheaded by the NPA and its partners under the supervision of the Ministry of Energy. Briefing the media on the planned implementation of the CRM in Accra, Mr. Okujetu said the program would be rolled out in September in Accra and Kumasi and would gradually spread across the country. He said the CRM would run side by side with the current distribution model until it was phased out. As a 50-member committee was working on the CRM, he said the LPG marketing companies had representation on the committee and their inputs had been factored into the framework. All industry players, there's a quote from him, have been engaged, their ideas have been taken on board, and the framework has been designed with their input and are ready to offer their support to ensure the success of the project, he stressed. Mr. Kujetu said the implementation of the CRM was to ensure that at least 50% of Ghanaians have access to safe, clean and environmentally friendly LPG by 2030. Another quote, it is also meant to improve access to LPG, improve safety in the distribution of LPG and increase adoption of LPG. Additionally, it is a policy shift to stop the unnecessary loss of lives and property, as well as gas filling stations, mostly due to human error. Mr. Okujetu explained that per the CRM policy, cylinders procured from manufacturing companies will be sent to bottling plants to be filled. The filled cylinders will be transported in bulk to exchange depots for holding and sorting before transporting them in quantities to cylinder exchange points where consumers could register and pay for any quantity for domestic and commercial consumption. Specialized trucks will be used to transport the filled cylinders from the bottling plants to the retail stations or exchange points where consumers will exchange their empty cylinders for filled ones. So, basically, this is what the NPA seeks to do from September, that in order to ensure there's some safety, you know, as far as the usage of LPG and using fire in general for private and commercial ventures are concerned, they are embarking on this under the supervision of the Ministry of Energy to distribute filled cylinders to people. Mensa, what do you make of this?
Well, I think this is not a new policy.
Yeah.
This is a policy initiative that's pretty much on the continent, where instead of you carrying your cylinder to the gas station and fill it and take it home, you actually go and pick up a cylinder that's already filled.
Yeah.
So the cylinders are already provided, and then you just go, you pick one, you go home. So when you're coming back, you just bring your old cylinder, you pick a filled one, and you go. And so it's really nothing new. The only problem is that it lacks any additional innovation. I hate it when people just go somewhere and pick a policy and just come to dump it, without streamlining it to fit into your own system. And I think that there's so many ways that, this whole thing could be done. I mean, again, we've also not seen the reports of it was piloted, and we haven't seen the report of the pilot and how successful it was. What were the challenges? Whether indeed they're going to be addressing the gaps or the challenges with safety, as they put it, that is supposed to address. But first things first, you want to give people access to clean and safer forms of energy for their household chores or household usage. You need to first make the gas accessible. No amount of cylinder recirculation model can prove any benefit to anybody if they can't afford gas. What is the cost or the market price of gas now, liquefied petroleum gas as we use for domestic utility? How much is it? Can we afford it?
I think this is why the affordability is why we still have people going back to traditional means, especially for domestic use. That's why people have gone back to charcoal.
Exactly.
And when you listen and watch promos going on, the NPA is also embarking on some kind of sensitization, where they are trying to discourage people from using it. But yes, affordability.
But the
is an
sensitization,
issue.
you see, if you want to convince me to drop what I'm using and switch to what you term as a cleaner form of energy, then you have to make the alternative accessible.
But your safety is also paramount.
No, the point is that I have to eat, whether you like it or not. I have to cook. Whether I'm going to cook with charcoal, I'm going to cook with LPG. At the end of the day, the decision on which one to use depends on the affordability of each of them. And so if you want to sensitize, you can sensitize people for all you want. You can throw money away for all you want. If the thing is still not accessible, we've constantly been asking government, there is no basis for the numerous taxes on LPG. There is no justification for those taxes. Why are we still paying COVID tax on LPG?
But
why are we still paying all those taxes?
But Mensa, that people have also raised concerns considering COVID taxes and all that, because we live in this country, nobody saw a pandemic coming. So maybe in future, we prep ourselves towards things like that.
That is why LPG is expensive?
You mentioned COVID tax.
No, I'm saying that
those
taxes,
that some of these taxes.
No, they are needless. Because irrespective of the numerous taxes they've compounded on us, we're still back into a debt restructuring program. We're still at the IMF. So what's the purpose of those taxes anyway? If we're going to be paying extra taxes for all these so-called challenges, and we're still going to end up at the IMF, then why didn't we just go to the IMF and leave the poor Ghanaian alone to deal with that little stipend that the poor Ghanaian is earning?
We needed more.
If you need more, if you cut your tongue and chew, you haven't chewed any meat. If you need more money, you can't tax the already poor people to death. If they die, when the chicken that lays the golden egg dies, there will be no egg. So the point I'm making is that by all means do your sensitization, by all means implement your cylinder recirculation program or model, by all means do any policy reforms in the sector that you want. But the fundamental point is that if the price or the value of the commodity is still not accessible to the ordinary Ghanaian, all these things will not make any sense.
Right. Now, Jeffrey, so affordability, indeed, yes, is an issue. But when you also look at gas-related debts, the loss of lives, loss of property and all that, is it not better that NPA will embark on projects like these, policies like these, you know, instead of just leaving people to use worn-out cylinders, people using charcoal, which in turn is going to be very expensive as far as your health issues are concerned. Let's now don't forget that there are vehicles that are also using gas for commercial activities and all that. Should they not be concerned about safety of the people?
Very, very important, very key. Let me first of all say a very good morning to my co-panelist here, and to your good self, and to our viewers. And also, you know, I'm a dad, so Asafotufia was just over the weekend.
Okay.
Let me say a good salute to my people.
Next time, invite us.
You see, you have to go there. It's just.
You didn't go, but I was there.
He actually stepped in for
Yes.
me. Yeah, he represented
Please,
me.
I didn't represent
Come
you.
on, come on. It's a whole, he went for himself.
My people forgive you, my brother was there. But most important, I think you've really raised a very important point about this cylinder, you know, recirculation thing. I like the term recirculation, like my brother said.
Yeah.
It's an initiative that actually, I would have wanted to see it as a pro-poor policy, you know, because if you go to some of the high-income people and then the middle-income people, majority of them, their problem will be availability.
Yeah.
Their problem will be availability. Maybe they have the income, but they would like to see it happen by you constantly supplying it at a good rate anyway. Rich people do like good prices.
But at least now they are lessening their plight. They say that you don't have to come owning a cylinder.
Exactly.
It's failed. You just
Exactly.
can't pick it. And you know now, Mensa, in terms of affordability, you can actually go in to buy, so even today, if you have your own cylinder, there's a quantity you can buy. So you don't need to fill everything, you know. That is not a practice anymore.
That even happens because maybe you don't know, because I was shocked to the bone at Dome. I went to fill my gas.
Yeah.
And I traditionally would just go and then
And fill it,
full tank,
to-
you know.
to the-
That's what I was doing. Then I saw this pretty young lady just said she wanted just 20 CDs. You know?
Yes.
I was taken aback.
It is happening.
I didn't know.
Yeah,
I was
it's
taken
happening.
aback.
It's
No
happening.
mean to downgrade it or anything. I was taken aback. That's where we are.
Yeah.
So on that score, I mean, for me, that's why I want to see it like, one, it's an environmental protection thing. I mean, green revolution. We are all moving to that energy transition that we are all globally having. Is important, and it's for me. I would want to see it like a pro-poor policy, so that we will target the poor people first, you know, while we show up. It's another way, if you do it well, you'll be closing the gap between the rich and the poor, you know, the widening poverty gap. And so, for me, it's supposed to be a cheaper option. So affordability is key. That's what I would want to believe. Whilst rolling this one out, you have to ensure fairness. You have to ensure accountability, sustainability, communication, and ownership. Look, ensure fairness in the sense that, like, it shouldn't happen that at some point where there's shortage or something, some areas will get it against another area. Then you come to talk about accountability. It's a government funding we're going to be using. The moment you don't account for it well, then, you know, we'll get to another place where it will be stifled. You go to the next area of sustainability. Once you are funding it and you are keeping accountability and ensuring that everybody gets it, and people are also being honest with the cylinders, and the safety and security of the cylinders must also be ensured, so that we have a good addressing system and know where we are taking the cylinders. We shouldn't roll it out just because there are cylinders. We just roll it out, and then the next moment we have those who will be holding the cylinders, and the cylinders won't come back into the system. That's a danger. So the economic situation will decide on the purchasing power. Look, people have their salaries stagnant, and it's competing that once you get 1,000 cedi salary, it could increase to 1,005. But because of across inflation and the rise in prices, now the cylinder, you have it, but what's the use of having the cylinder and not having the money to buy the gas? You know, that's what. But for me, when you raise the safety, personally, I've had a very bad experience with gas cylinder. My auntie lost her 2 children, and she was really damaged herself with gas. So in my house, in my family, we never sleep in the same room with cylinders.
Of course.
So for me, as far back as Rage in the late 80s, our cylinder was outside.
And that's the best practice.
Exactly. So this should be rolled alongside the policy to show people about safety and security is important. So moving forward, I think they should ensure continuity in funding, so that we can always get it rolling with effective communication, educate people, let people understand it, and let depolitize it. I don't want to get politics all around some good initiative like this, so that it becomes, you know, a banter. Let's roll it out very well. Accountability is important.
It is very important.
It's a good project.
But
accountability, transparency,
yeah,
fairness.
but one thing I also want us to look at, Mensa, is the fact that as a people, if things will not work, we also have a role to play. So the NPA wants to do this for the safety of all of us. Now, Jeffrey mentioned something very key, making sure that when we go pick them up, the cylinders up, we return them. Most of the time, we are our own enemies. So you realize that people, look, when we had this mobile money, SIM registration and all that, there were people who were bold enough to stand on TV to say that, yes, I did not register my SIM because I owe on Momo and I will not pay, so I've thrown my SIM away. So I know that it's important that the policymakers, will also ensure that we do this. But as a people, how do we take advantage of such policies?
Frema, that's why I'm saying that. I don't like it when we go pick a policy somewhere and come and dump it. The NPA, in implementing this policy, must be aware of all these fundamental difficulties or challenges within our system and how the ordinary Ghanaian behaves. I mean, you can't implement a policy for the Ghanaian and not factor into consideration the behavioral, attitude of Ghanaians. They are very important. And so those challenges exist. How are you going to maneuver around them? And that's your job as MP. If you can't find a solution to that and you want to come and complain to me, I haven't been paid to sit at MPA to solve problems. You are there because you said you can do the job. We asked you, the president asked you and say, yes, I have what it takes to be in this sector. So solve the problem and don't complain.
They're not complaining.
But the point is that the ordinary Ghanaian doesn't even come in here in the first place. So let's wait. You want to, the challenges for me, number one, it's not the attitude of Ghanaians. It's not whether Ghanaians will return the cylinder or not. My problem is the procurement of even these cylinders and the corruption that is going to go on. So the corruption is not going to start from the Ghanaian.
Why are you?
It's going to start from the NPA.
Right from the beginning. Why right from the beginning say that the corruption? Why is it? There's a committee in place. A committee that has worked. No, I'm saying this because let me give you the.
Firma,
yes.
So because there's a committee in place, there's not going to be corruption.
I'm not saying that, but we don't have to also meet
I can assure
good
you,
policies, with a prejudiced mind.
Firma, I'm not being prejudiced.
No, I mean, come on. Even from before the whole thing is rolled out,
because
you're talking of the corruption that will
this is not a new program, and this is not the first time the NPA is rolling something out. Firma, we're in this country when the NPA brought out this good for oil policy. You remember?
I do.
I was at the meeting. The NPA called CSOs to discuss that. At the meeting, I told them that this policy or program you're implementing is not going to work. It's total nuts. It doesn't make any reasonable sense. I told them at the meeting. What did they say? They went on beating about the bush. Today, why is the good for oil policy? Because they sit down and they don't think this policy is true because they identify one problem. For example, in the Gold for Oil program, what was the problem NPA wanted to solve? The problem was the exchange rate pressures on the prices of fuel. And so by the time they bring the product, by the time they want to go and buy the next batch, because they sell the product in cities, the amount of dollars they need to change more cities. And so the pressures of the exchange rate was high. If you have exchange rate pressures on fuel prices and you want to solve it, is the solution gold for oil? Is the solution gold for oil? Gold in the world is the ultimate currency. In the hierarchy of currencies, gold sits on top. Nobody in their right sense will carry gold and go and give it to somebody and take oil. When you have gold, when gold is the real money.
Well, when you also want to stabilize your
that's what I'm
currency.
saying. That they didn't think that policy through. If you want to, let me. So
you feel free to, you can disagree.
So no, I'm telling. So I'm explaining to you why
the cylinders.
Yes, I'll come to cylinder. I'm just giving you a precedent at the NPA. Why
so
I tell you that?
So according to the NPA, APEP Cylinder Manufacturing Company in Awutu Senya, Zigma Cylinder Manufacturing Company in Accra, and the Ghana Cylinder Manufacturing Company at Spintex will be producing the cylinders that will be distributed nationwide.
The point I'm trying to make is that the problem, which is with NPA and most of the state institutions, is that they don't sit through their policies. they don't properly evaluate
So
the
at this
impact of this policy.
with this, what do you want NPA to do? What do they have to do that they haven't done? That you think because of that the policy will fail?
If you want to be spokesperson for NPA,
I just want to understand.
Please, NPA, write a voucher, write a payment voucher for Freeman.
No, I just want you to know that you've said you say that they have not, thought through it properly.
No, you see,
and as far as you are concerned, this doesn't look like something.
No, Freeman, no.
Okay.
I brought that point in because you raised an issue that there is the attitude of Ghanaians that perhaps people will go and buy them and not even return these cylinders.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm saying that before we even get to that point, let's deal with the corruption with NPA people first.
Okay.
And that's why I brought this
oil,
thing,
gold for oil.
the gold for, because in the gold for oil thing, the same way they did not think through the policy, and now today we don't know what has come of that policy, and we don't see the impact of that policy on oil prices. It hasn't solved the problem they said they were trying to solve. It's the same way if they don't sit through this policy and address the challenges and come up with a more holistic policy before they even start implementation. We're going to come out and they'll implement the program. We'll throw monies down the drain. We won't see any impact. And let me finish my point on the gold for oil, because I want to prove to you that the MPA, they don't sit through their policies. On the gold
do so in 30 minutes.
Yes, 30 seconds, of course. When you have gold, you have gold in your hands. Gold is the ultimate currency.
Yeah.
In the hierarchy of money, gold sits on top. Nobody have gold and go and give the gold to somebody and take oil. It makes no reasonable economic sense. What has made the Central Bank of England made the British pound the most valuable currency is gold. Gold reserves. So when you have the gold, when you can keep the gold, by keeping the gold, by keeping the gold at your central bank in your reserves alone, can boost your currency without selling the gold. Just keeping the gold in your central bank alone can boost the strength of your currency. You say you are taking that gold and going and give it to somebody because your currency is depreciating. Keep the gold in your central bank. If you need $1, we have something we call gold-backed monetary paper. It's a bond. These people are the specialists of bonds. You can issue a gold-backed monetary paper and still keep the gold at the central bank and raise money to buy your oil. And still keep the money in reserves, and you have killed two birds with one stone.
Right. Okay.
And these are the people thinking for us.
Yeah.
Gold for oil.
Yeah, because they were duly elected, and so these are the people that we queued to go elect, and so as far as they are still there, these are the people that will take the decisions for us. Yes,
but they should take good decisions for us. They should take good decisions for us.
Still, Jeffrey, the NPA is doing this recirculation. You are very excited about it.
Yes.
Yeah. In just 20 seconds, if you have anything to say regarding what Mensa just said.
I am not a naysayer, but I'll advise that it's a good target that 50% of Ghanaians will be using LPG by 2030. But that's a lazy target. Quite lazy a target though.
Why?
So, come on. I mean, I was expecting to see like 70%. So that,
it is Ghanaians we are dealing with. Maybe just what Mensa raised, that after the committee sitting, they know that these are the realistic figures that we can project. Knowing the people we are dealing with. So let's just see.
Mensa's concerns has to do with value for money. How much we are putting in such projects.
And the fact that it is the NPA's responsibility to factor in the behavioral and attitudinal issues of Ghanaians.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So maybe the 50% has been well thought through.
And then I'll also look at the pricing. We should look at geographic pricing at some point. Some of us can afford. I mean, but when you go to the hinterlands where they directly are in the forests, you see how the semantics play. I mean, for me, if I decide not to use LPG, charcoal availability might be.
And you can buy what you can afford.
Exactly.
That's the good thing.
Yes.
It's not like a standard price where you have to go in to buy 300 cedis, or you can buy 100 cedis.
I get your magic, but the consistency. I mean, if I wanted to buy 20 cedis, I'll get the access and buy 20 cedis. But then after purchasing the 20 cedis, am I going to get another money in 3 days' time to purchase another 10 cedis or 5 cedis? Is what we are talking about. So I love the idea of making it that bits pricing. That's okay. But I also am careful so that you can do it so that you bring everybody on board. It's the people that you are targeting. Majority of the people who are down there that you are targeting. Because of economic situation right now, majority of middle income people are pushing down. And when we say poverty and we say poor, I always want people to know that there are 3 stages. There's hardship, okay, and then there's poverty, and there's extreme poverty. I mean, let's get a bit local. I know you are good with tree. You are hungry, and you here, no me. You know that one.
The part.
I mean, I can put it in Ghana for you if you want to understand.
Okay.
I am female. Now you're here. Now you're here, boo.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, some of those people are the extreme poverty. When you see them, they don't need to tell you.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's the level. So who are we targeting? Some of the people who are in the belt of extreme poverty, we need to bring them up, shore them up, and give them good pricing.
Yeah.
You know, for some of them, I mean, even we should look at their pricing very well. I mean, I don't think somebody will travel all the way from Accra to maybe some village in Adan and go and buy gas because it's cheaper there. So let's factor in the poor policy side of it. But like my brother said, when you have the funding, accountability is key.
Very much.
Let's also advise the citizens. They also must be advised.
Absolutely.
For the security of the cylinders.
Right.
I mean, it's not an opportunity to grab it and go and hide it. I mean, we need to be disciplined a bit.
Okay, all right. Mesa, you will come back. You come back. All right. This is Breakfast Daily. Mesa, this is Breakfast Daily. We'll be right back.
You're from Nadede. Semijina ha na eye Franco television. Papa, I'm dia begasono. And I'm gusu amidi ho dance e chiro. Sawasi hotels, offices, schools, apartments. Eye Franco television. Ababawa, abrantie. Ope TV di abawo dem a. Your sizes bebre wo ho. Your 24 inches wo ho. Your 32 wo ho. Your 43 wo ho. Your 55 and akese 65 inches. Way now day. Franco Trading Enterprise. A television papa and a border from a him here.
Finally, anyone can become a house owner.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You Go Flip, a real estate gaming platform that allows you to play and stand a chance of winning a house or cash or consolidated values, such as savings towards a house. Simple and easy to play. Visit www.yougoflip.com. Buy a ticket to enter the game. Wait for the end of the game to enjoy the win. Anyone can win. Flip it or own it. You Go Flip. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Play responsibly, not for persons below 18 years, and gaming can be addictive.
Get ready to witness a remarkable fair to showcase the rich diversity, talent, innovation, and mastery of made in Ghana products and services with the This Is Ghana Exhibition 2023. Citi TV and Citi FM will allow you to immerse yourself in a vibrant showcase of authentic Ghanaian products and services in the biggest trade fair and exhibition for local SMEs, startups, research and manufacturing industries, homegrown businesses, and indigenous corporate bodies Ghana has ever seen. We shall promote, support, and patronize various Ghanaian products, solutions, and services that are redefining the views on indigenous products and their packaging across all sectors. Join us at the Accra Metropolitan Assembly on the 26th and the 27th of August 2023 at 10 a.m. through till 5 p.m. each day. Call us now on 0205-973-973 for inquiries on how to participate. The This Is Ghana exhibition is powered by Citi TV and Citi FM and proudly sponsored by MTN Momo and Nalo Solutions, making it happen.
You're welcome back. This is Breakfast Daily, and we are having some news conversation here. Just gone by was a conversation on the cylinder recirculation policy that the NPA will be enrolling in September. Now let's look at issues on National Cathedral. Now my guest still in the studio, Mensa Thompson of ASEPA and Jeffrey Kabuto Kanzi of Revenue Mobilization Africa. So on the issue concerning the National Cathedral, you know, a lot of comments have come up, a lot of conversations have arisen out of this. You know, one person who has decided to make it his business, he sat on Citi TV's Upside Down show to talk about this, that he has made it his issue, you know, to pursue everything and anything regarding the National Cathedral, and that is Okudito Ablakwa. Now, the Parliament of Ghana has set up a committee to probe the National Cathedral project. That is a story put together by Ni Ayikwen Okan. Let me take you through the story. Parliament has directed the establishment of an ad hoc committee to conduct an inquiry into the National Cathedral project and all related matters, and to make appropriate recommendations for consideration by the House. The MP for North Tongue, Samuel Okudito Ablakwa, together with 5 other minority members, filed a private members' motion demanding probe into the stalled project despite the injection of about $58 million into the facility. Work on the National Cathedral stalled a year ago, with liability and interest costs being incurred day in and day out. Second Deputy Speaker Andrew Amokwesiam, adopting the motion for onward action by the leadership of the House, said, "This motion is a very, very important one, and I pray that this House will approve this motion under Order 919. Order 919 provides that the House, at any time by motion, appoint a special or ad hoc committee to investigate any matter of public importance. The National Cathedral project of Ghana is essentially the most expensive project in the history of Ghana. Already, as we speak, this project has ballooned from $100 million to $400 million and is still a moving target. It is still rising. So far, about $58 million has been spent on the project, and what we see has become a subject of considerable controversy. We also see a hole, and we are not too sure really if it is $58 million that has gone into the project. We know that the project has been abandoned since March last year. As we speak, the cost continues to go up. There are liabilities, there are interest and suspension claims, which on its own runs into about $52 million by my check, he stated. So this is it. Parliament now says that indeed there must be a probe into the National Cathedral project, and a committee has been set up in this regard. Jeffrey, so this is where we are. All the conversations, I mean, last year we saw some committee members, you know, resigning because they didn't really believe it. Still, you know, there's this kind of religious conversation around the National Cathedral project. There's also economic issues that have been raised, and people feel that, look, this is not what we were informed of from the beginning. It was supposed to be a personal promise to God, but as time went on, it became a national project, and it meant we had to fund it with state money. This is where we are.
Yeah, I think the National Cathedral project is a case of a project that has been ill-managed right from inception to the stage where we are, and that has made it very problematic. I would like to first of all ask you, if Parliament is kept in the dark, then what about citizens? I mean, it is not my business to scrutinize a document right from birth. And so if the business of the politician, the parliamentarian in Parliament, is that he will scrutinize and give approval to such a project. And right from inception, we were made to conceive that this was not even a government project. So government was only offering land. I remember that discussion very well. As a citizen, I was like, I'm Christian and I'm Catholic. So to hear a cathedral, the excitement will be there, you know. I mean, cathedral has to do more with us. We love it. But I was thinking that it was important to ensure that we all agree and accept that there are laid down channels that the project should have gone through, so that you have a project that is proposed, you need to take it to Parliament. I'm sure there were procurement steps that should have been followed. Ironically, if I do not want to discuss the cost of the project because I have never had the opportunity to hear from one person that the project costs 10,000 cedis.
Yeah.
No. It's one of our ways. You hear this group called 10,500, it's 17,000. And you see, please help me. It's mind-blowing that my mother didn't have a first degree. No. She's a trader. If you dare sit with her, she will tell you the accounts and everything she does when she's selling.
Of course.
It is only degree holders, in fact, doctorate holders, PhD holders, who run the affairs of this country when it comes to economic issues, and they are not able to get figures right. But their salary, I'm not sure they don't know their salary.
Of course.
But the moment there's a discussion about a project, then it takes sometimes external force cities like IMF or World Bank, and they'll quote a figure. And it's so ironic. I mean, but in this country,
but if you want to know, we know. If you want to say it, we will say it.
The cost?
Yeah.
You ever know the cost?
No. What I'm saying is, if we want to know how much exactly, I don't think that we don't know. But the thing
But
is,
that's what I'm telling you,
information
that
exactly.
It's ironic.
Yeah.
I mean, it's ironically,
Exactly.
we all sit back and something that basic accounting students can do, PhD holders are not able to do. Now, when it comes to accountability, I think the politicians can never be said to be one. The discussion is always, oh, politicians are the same. Politicians are not the same. Every politician has a name. You can tag every government official with their name and their position they are holding, and they have accepted to play a role. Let's start tagging people and let them be accountable to us. We need to understand what the project has cost us so far. For me, it is one project. You can never do anything to my mind to believe that it's a government project. I have never accepted that it's a government project. I was told, look, I was born. Let me tell you why I'm very emotional about this thing. My good brother and myself, KOD, Kofi, we grew up in the neighborhood.
Okay.
I was born at Rage Hospital. I lived in Rage for about 16 years of my first life. So that is an enclave where I lived my life. I can close my eye and give
the map of the area.
I can give you the map of the area, who was living where. What was converted to be Scholarship Secretariat was Nana Tudazi's house.
Okay.
From there, I can tell you where the Commandos Rawlins's driver was, opposite CMK Sowu. The next building was for KOD's house, Prison Service number 2. I have it in my head.
Yeah.
That's how I love the area. You see that gate, the very giant gate, that is after State House. That giant gate.
Yeah.
It has a history. During the cool time when we were growing up in the 80s, they used to close that gate. So when you get there, you have to go and wind around the State House. You can't pass through the State House.
Yeah.
So you go around it, use the PWD side. These are historical monuments. You woke up one day and decided that you look at all the lands at Ofanko, Oyarifa, Oyibi, in all those enclaves where there are trees, where you can have. Do you know one thing about Cathedral? It's an enclave where you need some solemn quietness,
serene,
and the Catholics have a lot in this country you should have just emulated. So if you needed a place to have such a thing, that project alone could have taken development to some place, if you are taking it there.
Right.
But we shoved it aside, and what we did was that we pumped in money. When I heard about the redesign, the cost of redesigning the project, I had a heart attack.
That's why we are in Parliament now. Parliament says they have to probe it.
Let me tell you what. I'm telling you two things here. I do not accept it as a national project.
Okay.
I do not, personally. I do not accept it as a national project. I was told that government was only providing lands. And that's why I'll tell you that judges' buildings that were built few months earlier were just demolished them. Look, the cost of a project doesn't start with the digging of the place.
Yeah.
It started with the breaking down of those structures that were housing government officials. So I tell you, in my peaceful mind, that I have not accepted it.
Okay.
So the only caution I'm giving is, in this country, when people cause financial loss to this country, when we find a day, let me tell them, there's something I love about law. It says the long arm of the law will catch up with the people.
Yeah.
And there's one closing line. Crime has no expiry date.
No.
So let me tell you what. That day, when justice will find its way in our hearts and fills through the streets of justice, let me tell you what. I don't want to hear anything like witch hunting. Because this time around, it will be Satan hunting. With the kind of cost amounts here.
It will go beyond witches.
No, it goes beyond witches. These are Satans. If somebody has the temerity of heart to use God's name. Look, when this thing started, I said a prayer. Look, I just said a prayer that if he's the God of Asians, he should prove to Ghanaians that he is the God of Asians.
So he will prove to Ghanaians.
He has proven already. What do you need to know again?
Being very, very much
when you have dug the biggest hole with huge amounts like this, and have you realized that the project, at a point, nobody sacked nobody. But out of the Russian talk, people started resigning. Ask them, if you are building a church and a priest is involved in building a church, a priest who loves God and know that a church is a house for God, a priest will resign. Let's move on.
Mensah.
Freeman, first of all, let me commend Parliament for setting up this committee, particularly the Right Honourable Speaker, Alban Bagbin. I think that Speaker has been one of the best speakers we've had in the Fourth Republic, if not the best. I think and a few of the things that has gone through Parliament, last week they amended the Criminal and Other Offences Act to repeal the death penalty. You know, and replace it with life sentence, which is something that we human rights organizations have been advocating for years. We keep seeing some of these very important decisions or being taken to bring some form of accountability to Ghanaians. And I commend the Speaker, Right Honourable Alban Bagbin, and also the MPs who started the initiative. A parliamentary, scrutiny or inquiry was long overdue on this matter, but they say better late than never. What I would recommend, in addition to that, is a full telecast. The people of Ghana need to see how wicked these people who we've elected, to create some comfort for us are. And Freeman, you made mention that this project started as somebody's personal project. Okay, so this guy comes in.
You mean the president? The president?
Of course.
Thank you very much. Okay. You're such a stubborn boy.
And he
so
says,
the president comes in.
And he says,
yes.
No, at that time he wasn't president.
Oh, yeah.
That Ghanaians vote for me. When you vote for me, I'm going to build a cathedral. I've made a promise with God. I'm going to build him a cathedral to thank him for making me win an election. So this guy wins an election, and his hometown is there, huge arable lands, where he can just go, build, just like they've broken the chief's palace and now they've expanded it. He could have added a cathedral as part of the Ochehine's palace and then put it there nicely where he goes on his retirement peacefully. He can go and sit there and worship his God. Little did we know that when this promise was being made to us, it was judges' houses, some as old as 6 months after they were completed, will be broken down. Little did we know that over $58 million of poor taxpayers' money was going to be used not even for the project, to dig a hole. Little did we know. In the US, they have something we call the miracle of the Hudson, where Captain Sullenberger landed a plane on the Hudson River. This is the miracle of the cathedral. And this cathedral will go into history as one of the worst atrocities of corruption perpetrated in this country. It will go in history. And you say you are building a church for God? God told President Akufo-Addo to break down people's houses, relocate them into apartments with huge monies, sink $58 million to dig a hole and put his church on it. Is that what God told President Akufo-Addo?
Well, that's why Parliament says now let's have a proper committee to probe it. So
you see, it is my hope that this is not going to end up in another cover-up. We've seen committees set up. You remember the motion for the vote of censorship against the finance minister, we went round. Oftentimes, Parliament have shown that they can bite. And even though I've lauded this Parliament, I think generally, Parliament has been one of the accomplices of a lot of the crimes we've committed in this country, because they have allowed those politicians. See, if you know the enormous powers that Parliament has, the enormous powers, that Parliament can sit down and the finance minister can wake up one day and go into our individual bank account, savings, investment, and take money from it. And Parliament couldn't get that minister out.
Well,
Parliament has sat down when something we were told was a private project, was not going to take taxpayers' money. And we woke up and our money have been taken without Parliament approval. And this same person went to sit in front of the
So now
Parliament.
Parliament is doing something about it. Let's just wait and get the report of this committee.
Frema, when Parliament started probing Kenoforiata, that's why we said, oh, let us wait.
So now what do you want us to
but
do?
But Kenoforiata,
so what do you want
he's the one
Parliament
who
to
paid
do?
the money for this cathedral.
So what should we do now?
You remember
we
that?
can only wait for Parliament to come in.
Frema.
Because I also want us to touch on the children are writing
yes.
BECU today.
Frema,
you don't care?
Please, the 58 million cedis that they've sunk into that project is more than the BECU. Please, yes, of course, it's not our.
So the future leaders who are writing today, who are looking up to
what
you.
What you are saying here, they are in their exams hall. Right now, they can't even hear you. They are in let's allow them to write the exams. Let's we, the adults, now deal with the things that affect you, because those monies could have created jobs for their parents, to give them better education, to give them to take better care of these children. So the point I'm making is that during the vote of censorship against Konofrata, the cathedral was one of the allegations, wasn't it? Didn't Parliament probe it? And what did they tell him eventually? So it is only right that we sound a caution to Parliament that this is not going to be business, shouldn't be business as usual.
Okay.
That they shouldn't go and sit down and do dilly-dally again and come out and say that this is...
So we can only wait for Parliament to come out, and then we'll come back to look at this. So Parliament has heard your caution.
Let's also caution Parliament.
Yes.
Because we need to advise them before they even start the process. Let's caution them that the people of Ghana are very much interested in this crime that has been committed against the soul of the country.
We'll wait
and we want to get to the bottom of the matter. And at every point in that probe that is going to happen, they must have it at the back of their mind that we Ghanaians, we are interested in this matter. We're interested in knowing the pillage, the people behind this pillage, the people who have caused this crime to the soul of this country. We want to see all of them. We want to see justice for Ghanaians. And so Parliament must have that at the back of their mind before they even start this probe.
Okay. So, Uncle Mensah, your nephews and your nieces are writing exams today. You know, 600,000 students will today, August 7, begin the week-long basic education certificate examination. They include 300,323 males and 391 females. So you can see that the females are more than the males, and that's really welcoming. That's nice to know.
Yes, we can only wish them good luck in their exams. We hope that this time around there's not going to be any issue of leakages, and then the kids are going to write the exams. They're going to be properly prepped. The invigilation is going to be without any eventualities, and everything is going to come out properly. We wish these students the best. As we are wishing the students the best, we know from the BEC they are going to the secondary schools. The challenges with the reforms that the government did in the educational sector, and the huge challenges with this free SHS program, as lack of access to food, beds, and all those things. The government must be sure that they are preparing, because they are not just writing the BEC to go and sleep. They are writing it so they can go to the secondary schools. And so as they are writing the exams, the role of government is to prepare the secondary schools. And so where there's no food, you should begin to think of how to feed these children when they get there.
Okay.
How to accommodate them. How to properly provide textbooks and teaching and learning materials. Those are what the government should be concerning itself with.
All right. Okay. Jeffrey, so BEC candidates,
my
they
best
start their
wishes
exam.
to
Yeah,
all the candidates. My best wishes to them, and my caution is for them to stay in the line of discipline, because this corruption we're having in this country that wows you and I starts from that level.
Exactly.
If a child knows how to hide a paper and pull it out, I mean, I think that is where it starts actually. But let me give you some facts about it. Like 906,000 pupils enrolled in KG in 2012. This batch. Only 600,000 will be writing the BEC, like you rightly said right now, making some 67% of the early total. Where are the remaining 300,000? You see the question? But let me tell you, historically, this is the first time in a long time that we've had more females than males, and it's also worth noting. There are fewer females enrolled. At the start of it, when we had this 906,000, fewer females even enrolled than the males. Only for the finishing line to prove that there are more females than the males. So that means majority of those who are falling out are actually males. That fact also stands in the, I mean, now let's importantly state that when we are going forward, there are remaining 33% of these children. Where are they? Have they learned some trade? What are they doing with their lives? It should be of very grave importance to us. We should be interested in knowing that. Look, aside efforts at increasing enrollment, it's important to look at retaining students. So at the enrollment stage, you realize that we did well by having 906,000 of them to enroll. What are some of these factors? Maybe free school feeding and the other initiatives that we started with. Enrollment increases. Okay. Then whilst in school, there might be other side issues like teenage pregnancy, like others for other forms of abuse.
Infrastructure.
That's also important, as well as the poor conditions of some schools, like infrastructure, like you said. How can a child who goes to school, sleeps on the belly to write, be interested in staying in school? I'm not justifying why a child should stay at home, but I mean, I was seated on a chair, but sometimes, you know, I felt like telling mommy I don't want to go to school today. I mean, that's when even I was chauffeured in a car. Okay, but so if I had the opportunity and even I had drawbacks, not wanting to go, that child who walks a distance, like, I mean, some of them walk that distance you would not like to walk, actually. I mean, kilometers.
Of course. I mean, there's a turn-off.
And that's one thing you say. And then uniforms. There are other cost elements, like uniforms, shoes, pencils, pens. Those ones are not free. I mean, so the parents, if they are not in good economic condition, as well as the times that we find ourselves in, that's why some of these students may have falling out. What are we going to do to, and especially, you know what? Ironically, government have decided to actually play free SHS against the basic education. Like you're rightly saying, where there are challenges of infrastructure, sitting, furniture to sit on, pencils, books to write with, shoes, uniforms, that is hanging. And government is rather going to buy laptops for free SHS students. I mean, so the child, the firm foundation, where it begins, KG's children, class 1 to class 6, that is, look, I'm
the formative
here,
years of the child.
I'll tell you what. I did early childhood as a basic course. Like I took the course in UCC, just non-scoring. It opened my eye to what. Look, Lawrence's theory of imprinting, how you imbibe knowledge and dump it in a child. The firm foundation in another country, in Finland, the teachers at the basic level, KG and primary school, they are PhD holders. I mean, they don't leave it in the hands of just anybody. So at that caregiving stage, you want to imbibe in that child that strength, that IQ building. So if we want to go forward very well, let's undertake further studies, okay, to ascertain where these 300,000 students are, what are some of the courses that I've mentioned, plus what. And then let's hold a national stakeholder. You know, when we said about the review of systems, it looked as if the review were looking at changing, the people were trying to play politics with it. No. The review that the education sector, I'm a fellow with the African Education Watch, the review we're calling was just to look at the systems and see some of these challenges that come out on board. Finally, I think we should improve on the infrastructure and properly target our pro-poor policies. We want to do something, but not laptops for free SHS.
Right.
And I think whilst we are moving to secure our future, let's note, these are going to be the journalists we are going to have the police officers, the lawyers, the doctors, and then the chief justices will have. These are the ones we are building today.
Right.
I wish them luck, and I wish Ghana, may the good Lord bless our homeland Ghana.
Great, thank you very much.
You added policemen to it.
Sorry?
You added police.
I did.
Yeah, don't mind him. Don't mind him. He's not trying to be mischievous. He's not trying to be mischievous. Don't mind him.
You
Yes.
gotta pull this
Yes.
man out.
Yes. You are so mischievous. Anyway, thank you very much, Mensa. Thank you very much, Jeff. This is Breakfast Daily. We'll be right back.